There's something powerful that happens when you stop looking around at what everyone else is doing and start focusing on what God placed inside you. You weren't created to live in comparison, competition, or confusion. You weren't designed to chase after people's approval, worry about their opinions, or be distracted by their timelines. No, your destiny is tied to your discipline, not their decisions. When you focus on you, when you get still, settle your spirit, and fix your attention on who God called you to be, that's when you begin to grow, to rise, to win. Some of you have been losing momentum, not because you're not gifted, not because you're not favored, but because you've been too focused on them and not enough on you. You've been investing your energy in everything except your own purpose. But God is saying today, it's time to refocus. It's time to work your gift. It's time to grow your strength. You're not waiting on opportunity. You're being prepared for it. And preparation happens in the quiet seasons when nobody's watching, when nobody's clapping, when all you've got is faith and focus. You may not see results today, but every step you take is positioning you for the breakthrough that's coming. So don't despise the silence. Don't resent the process. Don't get bitter watching others win. Instead, fix your focus, dig into your lane, and give yourself permission to bloom where God planted you. Because when you focus on you, when you keep pressing, keep sowing, keep believing, you will win. There comes a point in everyone's life where you realize that not everything deserves your attention. You begin to see that not every voice in your life needs a response. Not every opinion requires your agreement. And not every crowd is meant to follow you on journey. Some of the greatest growth happens when you learn how to silence what's around you so you can hear what's inside you. You don't need to chase affirmation, defend your choices, or explain your vision. You just need to get still enough to recognize that everything you need has already been. We live in a world that thrives on volume. Notifications, opinions, distractions, they come from every angle, pulling your focus, dividing your energy. But if you're going to make it to your victory, you have to learn how to block it all out. You can't win the race trying to listen to every voice in the stands. Some people will cheer you on, others will criticize. But you weren't called to run for them. You were called to finish what you started. And you can't finish well if you keep looking to the left and the right. You have to look straight ahead. There are seasons in life where the crowd around you thins out. Friends may grow distant. You might feel like no one understands what you're carrying. But let me tell you, that space isn't rejection, it's protection. God will sometimes remove the background noise so you can finally hear the truth about who you are. He'll quiet the distractions so you can get tuned into what really matters. And what matters most is not how fast you move or how loud your results are. It's how faithful you are to the work you've been given. You don't need 1,000 people clapping to know you're on the right track. You just need a heart that's committed, a mind that's clear, and a spirit that refuses to quit. The people around you may not see the hours you're investing, the sacrifices you're making, or the battles you're fighting in silence, but heaven sees it. God sees it. And in due time, what you planted in private will produce fruit in public. But the harvest only comes when you're focused enough to keep tending to the soil. Even when nothing seems to be growing, it's easy to get caught up watching what others are doing. To scroll through someone else's highlight reel and start questioning your own progress. To think, why are they winning while I'm waiting? But your journey isn't delayed. Your victory isn't denied. It's just developing differently. You don't have to keep up with anyone else when you're already walking in divine timing. There's something sacred about moving at your own pace, about honoring your own process, about refusing to let the noise of the world drown out the whisper of purpose in your soul. Sometimes the enemy doesn't need to stop you. He just needs to distract you. Because if he can get your attention, he can slow your movement. He'll send confusion, comparison, chaos. Anything to get your eyes off what you're building. But when you decide, I'm done looking at what everyone else is doing. What's mine? I'm going to show up for me the way I've been showing up for everybody else. That's when you start gaining traction. That's when clarity returns. Progress begins to accelerate. There's nothing wrong with supporting others, but make sure you're not so busy applauding their dreams that you neglect your own. Make sure you're not so caught up in their race that you forget you got your own butt and gave you your talents to bury them in distraction. He gave them to you so you could work them, water them, watch them grow. And sometimes the only way to do that is to step back from the noise and step into your purpose. This is your season to be intentional, to be unapologetic, to take your power back from everything that's been stealing your focus. You've been called to do something great. You've been graced to overcome, and you don't need a crowd to validate what God has already confirmed. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's empty. Just because it's slow doesn't mean it's not working. Sometimes the most powerful shifts happen when no one's watching. When you're locked in, zoned in, committed like never before. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to justify your solitude. When you're focused, it will look like you're missing out. But really, you're catching up with destiny. You're getting aligned. You're building something that won't break when the winds blow. And when the time is right, same people who didn't understand your absence will witness your arrival. But they won't see the cost. They won't know the discipline. They won't feel the lonely nights you pushed. All they'll see is the win, and the win is coming. Not because you shouted the loudest, but because you stayed focused the longest. So keep your eyes forward. Stay rooted in purpose. Don't get distracted by what they're doing. This isn't about them. This is about you. And if you stay focused long enough, faithful long enough, you will rise. You will flourish. You will win. You don't have to race anyone to prove who you are. You don't have to outshine, outpace, or outperform anyone around you to become who God created you to be. You were never meant to compete with people. You were meant to complete your purpose. One of the greatest traps you'll ever fall into is the trap of comparison, trying to measure your worth by someone else's success. But here's the truth. Their win doesn't mean you're lost. Their moment doesn't take away from your mission. And their elevation doesn't cancel your assignment. You weren't called to mimic. You weren't built to copy. God gave you a blueprint that's unique to your journey. That means your progress may not look like theirs. Your path may not be as smooth. Your pace may not be as fast. But that doesn't make it any less powerful. And it surely doesn't mean you're behind. The moment you start measuring yourself against others, you'll begin to either shrink in insecurity or puff up in pride. Neither one leads to peace. Both will rob you of joy. But when you stop trying to keep up with what they're doing and start honoring what you're carrying, that's where growth really begins. It's easy to think that in order to matter, you have to do it like they did. That if they reached success a certain way, then that's how you have to do it too. But their method isn't your mandate. You don't have to walk like them, talk like them, build like them, post like them, or sound like them to succeed. What works for them might not be right for you. Then what God is calling you to may not make sense to them. That's okay. You don't need their understanding. You just need your focus. See, when you spend your energy watching what others are doing, you lose sight of what you're supposed to be doing. You lose momentum chasing a path that was never meant for you in the first place. Sometimes the biggest distraction isn't failure, because you'll get so caught up in what's working for someone else that you miss the breakthrough hiding in your own obedience. But when you tune out the pressure to compete, when you lay aside the urge to compare, you give yourself permission to rise exactly the way you were meant to. People may not understand why you move, the way you move. They may question your rhythm, your timing, your strategy. But that's not your concern. You're not in this to meet their expectation. You're in this to meet your calling. And your calling doesn't require you to impress anybody. It just requires you to be faithful. Faithful to show up when it's not glamorous. Faithful to keep building when no one's applauding. Faithful to walk alone when the crowd chooses a different path. You may feel overlooked right now. You may be in a season where no one sees the effort you're putting in. And the enemy would love to whisper that you're falling behind. But you're not falling behind. You're just not running their race. You're on your own lane with your own pace and your own divine timing. What's ahead of you is tailor-made for you, so let them go fast. Let them shine for now. You don't need to rush what God is building in you. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to be steady. Be planted. Be focused. Sometimes the greatest favor is not being invited. Sometimes the greatest blessing is being left out, because it gives you space to go deeper. It gives you clarity to see what you've been called to do. When you're always watching other people, your creativity gets diluted. Your drive gets confused. You start trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for you. But when you lock in, when you say, I'm not here to compete with them, I'm here to complete what I started, you take your power back. You start owning your process again. And that's when favor begins to multiply. It doesn't matter who seems ahead. It doesn't matter who has more applause right now. When you commit to your process, your breakthrough can happen overnight. One moment of alignment with purpose can reverse years of struggle. But it only comes when your heart is fixed on your lane. Not theirs, not theirs, yours. Keep reminding yourself, you don't have to outdo anyone. You just have to outgrow who you were yesterday. So today, let the pressure fall off your shoulders. Let the comparison fade. Let the noise settle. The only person you're called to become is the one God already placed inside. Focus your time, your talent, and your tenacity on what He's given you. Don't worry about how fast others are moving. Don't measure yourself against someone else's success. The finish line will come to you when you stay faithful to the lane that's been set before you. You weren't called to chase. You were called to carry. Carry your peace, carry your joy, carry your assignment. And when you carry it with integrity and consistency, you will get there. You will rise. You will see the doors open, not because you competed, but because you stayed committed. There are seasons in life where nothing around you seems to reflect the effort you're putting in. You pray, you push, you prepare, but everything stays the same. You show up early, stay late, work behind the scenes, and still no recognition, no applause, no breakthrough. And it can feel like you're invisible. But let me encourage you today. Just because people don't see doesn't mean it's not working. Just because it's not loud doesn't mean it's not powerful. Just because no one is celebrating you doesn't mean heaven isn't smiling on you. What you do in the hidden places matters just as much, if not more, than what you do in the spotlight. The seeds you plant in silence are producing something that's going to speak loudly in your future. The hours you invest when nobody's watching are not being wasted. The discipline you build when no one's around is shaping the strength you're going to need for the next level. Sometimes the progress you're making is invisible to others because it's internal. It's the mindset that's shifting. It's your heart growing stronger. It's your faith being stretched. And that kind of progress doesn't need to be posted to be powerful. We get so used to visible signs of success. We want to see numbers grow, followers increase, doors open. But the truth is, some of the most important breakthroughs happen in private. They happen in those quiet mornings when you decide to try again. They happen in those late nights when you're tempted to quit, but choose to stay. They happen in the waiting, in the walking by faith, when there's no evidence that anything is changing. But every step you take is building something unshakable inside of you. Sometimes you won't see results right away because God is still laying the foundation. He's digging deep, removing what doesn't belong. He's preparing you to carry the weight of what you're asking for. And if He gave you the blessing before you had the roots, it would crush you. That's why it feels quiet. That's why it looks like nothing is happening. But don't confuse silence for stagnation. Don't mistake stillness for lack of movement. Growth often happens underground before it ever shows up above the surface. There are times when the people around you may not understand why you're not. Yet, they may wonder why your life doesn't look like theirs. They may question your choices, your timeline, even your value. But remember, they can't see what's happening beneath the surface. They don't know the battles you're fighting that nobody claps for. They don't see the character being built, the pride being stripped, the patience being forged. And one day, when the fruit finally comes, it'll be undeniable. But for now, you've got to trust that progress doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. When an artist is working on a masterpiece, they don't bring people in every 5 minutes to show them what it looks like. No, they work in silence. They adjust, refine, add layers. And most of the time, the masterpiece looks messy before it looks magnificent. The same is true for your life. It may not look impressive yet. You may still be in the phase where it's messy, where it's incomplete, where the pieces don't seem to fit, but that's okay. God is still painting. He's still perfecting. And just because the picture isn't finished doesn't mean it isn't beautiful. You may not have the title yet. You may not have the platform, the following, the confirmation, but you have something greater. You have faithfulness. You have the ability to keep showing up, even when no one notices. You have the maturity to serve without being seen, to help others win while you're still in the shadows. And let me tell you, shadow season is where champions are formed. It's where warriors are trained. It's where God does His deepest work. When your breakthrough finally arrives, and it will arrive, it's going to look sudden to others. They'll say, "Where did you come from? How did that happen overnight?" But you'll know the truth. You'll know the nights you cried, the moments you wanted to give up, the hours you spent refining, praying, building, dreaming. You'll know it didn't happen overnight. It just appeared overnight. But it was being built all along, quietly, faithfully, relentlessly. So if you're in that season where nothing looks like it's moving, don't lose hope. Keep doing the small things. Keep choosing integrity when no one's looking. Keep building when no one's applauding. Because you're not just waiting, you're becoming. And when you finally step into that season where the world sees what you've been carrying all along, you'll be ready. You won't have to fake confidence. You won't have to pretend to be prepared. You'll walk into it knowing that every quiet moment prepared you for that loud victory. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're not stuck. You're being strengthened, stretched, and sharpened. You're in the part of the story where the character is being built before the celebration begins. So don't get weary. Don't get distracted. Keep moving, because your hidden work is not being overlooked. It's being honored, and soon the results will come, not as a surprise, but as a harvest from the faithfulness you've been planting all along. Success doesn't show up because we wish for it. It doesn't happen because we talk about it, dream about it, or get inspired by it once in a while. It takes showing up daily. It takes choosing to stay locked in, even when you don't feel like it. It takes making decisions in private that no one will ever see, but that heaven will honor. What separates people who rise from people who remain is not always consistency. It's the ability to stay steady while others get distracted, to stay faithful when others drift, to keep doing what's right, even when it doesn't look like it's working. There's always something trying to pull you away from your assignment. It could be a disappointment, a delay, a distraction, or even success itself. Sometimes the greatest danger to your focus isn't failure, it's comfort. When things get easy, when the pressure lifts, we start to coast. We lose that edge, that hunger, that intentional mindset that kept us sharp. And before you know it, you've drifted. You're still moving, but it's not with purpose. You're still showing up, but you've lost your fire. That's why staying focused is a daily decision. You have to choose to protect your progress, not just pursue new things. There's a kind of discipline that says, I'm not gonna let every emotion control me today. A resolve that says, I'm not gonna let every setback push me off course. You have to develop the kind of inner strength that doesn't need a perfect environment to keep showing up. It doesn't matter who walks away. It doesn't matter what opportunities fall through. If you've made up your mind to stay faithful to your path, nothing outside of you can shake what's inside of you. That's where real strength comes from, not just starting strong, but staying strong through every season. The temptation to compare is a real one. The temptation to measure your pace by someone else's, to wonder if you're falling behind, to ask why things seem easier for them. But if you're constantly looking left and right, you're gonna miss what's straight ahead. You weren't built to compete in someone else's lane. You were built to dominate your lane. And if you're going to reach your potential, you've got to drown out the distractions and lock into your development. Let people do what they do, but you do what you've been called to do. There are moments when discipline feels boring. You're doing the same things over and over. You're building, but you don't see progress. You're stretching, but you don't see movement. And it's in those moments the enemy whispers, why are you even doing this? Nothing is changing. You could relax. You could take it easy. You deserve a break. But what the enemy calls unnecessary, God calls preparation. Every repetition, every early morning, every time you chose to show up when it was easier to give in, it's adding up. It's building something solid beneath your surface. You don't have to announce what you're doing. You don't need to prove to anyone that you're serious. Just stay focused. Let the results speak for you. Let the growth become obvious in time. Don't get caught trying to perform your way to validation. Don't waste your energy trying to convince people who were never meant to see your vision. Just do the work. Do it when you're tired. Do it when you're doubting. Do it when you're discouraged. Because if you keep doing it long enough, the breakthrough will come looking for you. The people who truly rise in life are not just those with passion, but those with patterns. Patterns of faith. Patterns of effort. Patterns of intentional living. You can't build a legacy off of occasional commitment. You can't create something lasting on emotion alone. Your destiny is too important to leave it up to how you feel that day. You've got to make up your mind and say, this is my lane. This is my season. And I'm not letting anything or anyone pull me out of position. It may feel slow right now. When you trust the process, even when it feels unfair, you grow. When you surrender control and lean into purpose, even when it hurts, you rise. There's something powerful about choosing to believe when there's no visible reason to believe. That kind of faith doesn't go unnoticed. It's not easy. It's not flashy, but it's real. And real faith is what carries you through every storm. It doesn't collapse under pressure. It doesn't panic when things fall apart. It says, even if I don't see the outcome, I know who's in control. And if I keep walking, I will arrive. Others may not understand why you keep showing up when nothing seems to be changing. They may wonder why you still smile, still serve, still speak life. But they don't know what you know. They don't know the quiet strength you carry. They don't see the fire that still burns inside you. They don't hear the whispers God speaks to your heart in the midnight hours. That's what keeps you going. Not what you see with your eyes, but what you know in your spirit. You weren't created to quit. You weren't made to settle. You were designed to overcome. It's easy to let weariness set in. It's easy to say, what's the point? Or maybe it'll never happen. But that's the moment you have to push a little harder. That's when you dig deeper, stand taller, believe bigger. You're not walking by what you feel. You're walking by what you know. You know the promise is still alive. You know your effort still matters. You know you didn't come this far to stop now. The very fact that you've held on this proof that you've got what it takes to finish. So take another step. Pray another prayer. Show up one more time. Keep moving even if you have to move in silence. Keep building even if no one sees it yet. The reward isn't just in the resilience. And when that moment of breakthrough comes, when the door swings open, when the victory is finally in sight, you'll realize that everything you walked through gave you exactly what you needed to walk into your next. You're closer than you think. You're stronger than you feel. And the very fact that you've been able to keep going without the outcome in sight is the proof that you're going to finish strong. So don't let this season define you. Let it develop you. The tips itself make you wiser, tougher, braver. And as you keep walking, step by step, day by day, you'll find that the road you couldn't see was leading you exactly where you were meant to be all along. Sometimes we spend so much of our lives watching others succeed that we forget what God placed inside of us. We look to the left, we watch who's ahead, who's trending, who's being celebrated. And if we're not careful, we lose sight of the path we were called to walk. But let me remind you, you weren't created to chase crowds. You weren't designed to follow every trend. You have your own journey, your own purpose, and your own pace. And the moment you stop trying to measure up to everyone else and lock in on your unique path, that's when everything begins to shift. There's something powerful about staying in your lane. You may not be the loudest, the fastest, or the flashiest, but you're consistent, you're committed. You're moving with clarity and conviction. And that's what wins in the long run. You don't have to run someone else's race to win your own. What's for you is for you. It won't be delayed, stolen, or given away, because it was never theirs to begin with. You just have to stay steady until the promise catches up with your perseverance. There will be times when it feels like nothing is happening. The people around you are getting promotions, starting families, launching businesses, stepping into seasons you've been praying for. And yet, your life looks quiet, still, unmoved. But here's the truth. Silence isn't a sign that you're losing. Stillness isn't proof that you're being left behind. Sometimes God hides you, not to hold you back, but to prepare you in peace. He's protecting your foundation, strengthening your identity, quieting the noise so your roots can go deep before the fruit ever shows. If you keep walking your path with focus, the finish line will find you. You won't have to chase it down. You won't have to manipulate situations or beg for opportunities. What you're building with faith and integrity will draw the right things at the right time. You'll step into the exact space that's been waiting for you. Not because you fought for position, but because you honored your preparation. There's a reward for staying faithful, for refusing to be moved by distractions, for pressing forward when quitting would have been easier. Don't let detours shake you. Don't let slow seasons convince you that you're not progressing. The path to greatness is rarely straight. It's filled with moments that make you question everything. Moments that test your patience, stretch your endurance, and challenge your faith. But if you stay the course, even when the road is hard, the finish line won't just reward your talent. It will honor your tenacity. God doesn't just bless gifted people. He blesses faithful. Those who stayed when it was easier to walk away. Those who trusted when they had every reason to doubt. There's a difference between motion and momentum. Motion can be frantic. It looks productive on the surface. But momentum is deep. It's grounded. It may not look exciting, but it's unstoppable. When you stay in your lane long enough, working, growing, learning, serving, you build momentum. And once that momentum catches doors open you didn't knock on, people notice who never saw you before. Opportunities find you that you didn't even apply for, because God sees what's done in private. He rewards what's built with character. Don't worry about who's noticing you now. Don't get caught up in how far they've gone or how fast they got there. You're not being overlooked. You're being built, positioned for something that requires this exact path, this exact pace. And every day you stay focused is a day closer to seeing the fullness of what's ahead. You may not feel like you're winning yet, but trust me, if you're still showing up, still growing, still pressing forward, you're already winning in ways you can't measure. The win isn't just in reaching the destination. It's in who you become on the journey. It's in the way your character is refined. It's in the lessons you pick up when nobody is watching. It's in the resilience that's formed when nothing goes your way. Yet you still choose to show up with excellence. All of that matters. All of that counts. And when your moment comes, and it will come, you won't step into it overwhelmed or insecure. You'll step into it knowing, I didn't get here by luck. I got here by staying in my lane, by running my race, by refusing to be distracted, delayed, or discouraged. You've come too far to look back. You've invested too much to start comparing now. You didn't endure all those silent battles just to throw away your momentum, trying to keep up with someone else. Keep your eyes forward, stay grounded, stay faithful. Because the finish line isn't something you chase. It's something that shows up when you've proven you can handle the weight of your own assignment. You're not falling behind. You're being aligned. And if you'll just keep moving, keep believing, and keep trusting, your win will find you right on time. You don't need to look around to know that God is working. You just need to look within. What He planted in you is still growing. What He promised is still alive. The dream is still valid. The calling is still active. But if you're going to see it, you've got to focus like never before. Focus past the distraction. Focus past the delay. Focus past the opinions, the noise, the silence, the spotlight. Because the victory won't come from what's around you. It will come from what's inside of you. This is not the time to second-guess your gift. This is not the season to abandon your assignment. You're not too late. God told you you're not too small, too overlooked, or too behind. You're right where you need to be. The key is to stay in your lane. Water your seed. Protect your peace. Get your mind back on the promise and your heart back in the process. God is not looking for the most visible. He's looking for the most faithful. And if you stay faithful long enough, your focus will carry you into your win. Yes, the path may be quiet. It may be slow. It may be lonely at times. But stay the course, because you're not wasting time. You're investing in the version of you that wins. The one who didn't quit. The one who didn't compromise. The one who stayed steady. even when it would have been easier to give up. You are not just looking for results. You are becoming a person of purpose, and that alone is worth every moment of the journey. So don't look around. Look up. Look within. Stay locked in. Stay intentional. And when the dust settles, when the timing is right, when everything aligns, you're gonna see that all the quiet effort, all the silent endurance, all the discipline and faith paid off. Because when you focus on it, you will win.